great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Scripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical. Our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be your host for this episode, and my name is Bill. Not the only one, but that's a hint for later. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicki. I'm Jennifer.
Sweet. So now we have a guest. We have someone who is a NASA instructor, a NASA participant. He was at Grid Life. He's been at the racetrack for the past 5 weeks. He's making me super jealous. He says, as he writes in, "Hey, this is me." And then he gives me 4 different names. And I'm like, how many names does this person have? The guest with the most names ever. I think we have Bill Griffin. We might have Billy G. And somehow we have Billy Turner all at the same time.
Turner.
Right, so, I know. I don't
know.
I
get nicknamed quite a bit. So
welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, Bill.
3 guests for the price of 1. So you get 3 times the pay of all our other guests. So you're already paid for. So just in case, well, it's not just in case I do a bad introduction, because I usually do bad introductions. Just in case people aren't familiar with you, could you give like a little bit of background about you, your professional, your racing life, whatever you feel like talking about?
Sure. So grew up in Indiana, always interested in motorsports, going to the Indianapolis 500. Up into Road America in the heyday of the Can-Am races. Graduated from college, got married, started a family, really interested, involved in my kids. So I was the softball coach. I was the, baseball coach, the scout leader, and really got involved with my kids. Also, my hobbies at the time were cycling. So I was an avid cyclist where I raced bicycles on the velodrome.
Wow.
But always was interested in motorsports. Next door neighbor of mine, a guy Jeff Curtis, he's from NASA Mid-Atlantic region, was a Porsche guy. I called him up, said, "Hey, Jeff, I'm finally going to do this motorsports thing. What kind of car should I get?" And he said, "Get an E36." And I had no idea what an E36 even was. So I started looking, of course, BMW. Called me back about a week later, said, "Hey, they're developing a spec class for the E46, which is a newer chassis. This is by the time you come up through the HPDE ranks, there should be some cars to race, and it's probably a better car for you to get." So that's exactly what I did. I found an E46 and started tracking it, and was doing about 10 to 12 events a year and worked my way up through the system, comp school, and started racing.
That's awesome.
10 to 12 a year.
Wow.
That's what you got to achieve, Bill, if you ever want to be an instructor.
I'm trying. I'll go as much as you'll let me. So how many names do you have?
Yeah, let's count them.
Bill. Those are all nicknames, so.
Okay. Very well.
You can call me Bill.
Okay, we're going with Bill. All right, that works for me.
So, how about your professional life outside of racing?
I'm sorry, what was that again? Professional.
How about your professional life outside of racing?
So my degree is in art.
Oh boy, we just lost Vicki and Jen.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go get dinner. You guys can talk now. All right, bye.
I was a major at Ball State University, and I got into the field of visual merchandising. So, if you know anything about retail, it's kind of what they call the dummy dresser, Sprigs and Twigs in the store. It's basically that shopper's journey, from what the shopper sees when they enter the store, the signing, the layout, the mannequins, all that stuff. That's kind of my professional background. And I work for an organization called Navy Exchange. So if you know anybody in the military, PX, for the Navy, it's called Navy Exchange. We have facilities all over the world and Navy bases all over. So I've got to go to some cool places like Keflavik, Iceland, Cuba, Spain, Japan. So it's been a career. I haven't made a fortune in money, but definitely it's been an experience, you know. So.
Okay.
Jen.
So, how did you get the racing bug?
Well, you know, like I said, you know, growing up in Indiana, you know, the Indianapolis 500 is kind of near and dear to all Hoosiers' hearts. My uncle actually was a car owner for a couple of years with a bunch of other businessmen. Just always loved racing, followed, you know, Indianapolis, you know, followed Formula One, just really interested in it. And just as a spectator. And I think, you know, back when I was a kid, I don't really think this, you know, bring your car to the track and drive it was really a thing. I mean, if you wanted to drive on a racetrack, you went to like a Skip Barber or something and drove a car, and you know, that was really the only way to kind of, I think, get into it. So
And that was the beginning of it all, huh? You just
yeah,
kind of
so
hiccuped
you know,
on it.
been interested in it, and then, you know, like I said, my neighbor Jeff Curtis in Virginia Beach was Porsche guy. Kind of learned from him, but at the time then I had kids, you know, so there was not really much time or money to be spent, you know, doing things like motorsports. So, and I, you know, and I was fine with that. I really got involved with my kids, and whether it was scouting or coaching my daughter's softball. I tell the story about the softball thing is there wasn't enough coaches for all the girls that wanted to play softball, and I knew nothing about softball, absolutely.
Right.
And this is back in the day of VHS tapes. So I found a company in Texas that had a program on VHS tapes that would basically put together a whole girls softball program. So I ordered the tapes, put together the softball program, not knowing anything about softball, and started coaching my daughter's, you know, softball team. So, because if she wanted to play softball, you know, I wanted to help out.
That's always how it is. There's never enough parents, so then you just give in.
And it laid out everything. It had a sheet that you gave to the parents, said, you know, here's the expectations. Yep. This is not a babysitting service.
I've been there.
You don't just drop your kids off, and here's what, you know, the expectations are. And it just walked you through. It told you exactly how to set your practices up, and, you know, what things to practice on, and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So have you been involved in other races other than the HPDE training? Have you actually raced in like a NASA, like SCA? Is that what it is, Bill?
I haven't done any SCCA, just all my most of my wheel-to-wheel has been with NASA.
Okay.
Last year, Grid Life, which I don't know if you're familiar with Grid Life. If you're not,
Yes, please tell us about Grid Life.
Okay. So, and also with Grid Life. So Grid Life just last year started their own wheel-to-wheel racing program. It's a one-class racing program called GLTC, or Grid Life Touring Cup. It's similar to, if you know, NASA's ST5. It's a power-to-weight class. So you can see everything from K-Swap Miatas to Honda Civics to BMWs, just about every car out there. They even had a Honda Odyssey minivan out there racing. So it's pretty cool. So I've done racing with both Grid Life and NASA, but not SCCA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about your street and your race car history? I mean, what cars have you been racing with? You still have that E46 BMWs, or your fancy BMWs?
The E46, and I have actually bought 2 more since then. At the time when I started doing it, I was driving a Camry, which is kind of a cliche.
How is that?
I love the Toyota. I have a Toyota Tundra tow vehicle. I've always been kind of a big fan of Toyota and would actually kind of think it would be fun to go out there and race a Toyota. I don't know if you saw Forge Line has that older GT Toyota Supra that they've been running in some of the historic stuff. But, yeah, so it's always been BMW. And like I said, when I started this, I knew nothing about BMWs, absolutely nothing. But I tell people, had I been in any other platform starting out, I would have probably wrecked the car, because this car is so forgiving. It comes from BMW pretty much as a 50-50 weight balance car. And it's definitely, I'm sure, has saved me several times.
That's awesome.
So what do you think your goals might be for working or being in NASA? Or you pretty much achieved them?
Yeah, because I'm not getting any younger, that's one of the reasons I think, that I've been doing so many, events a year and stuff, and trying to, to cram, 5 years of, motorsports, or 20 years of motorsports into 5 years. So, I was pretty heavily into it. And right off the start, I was volunteering. So if I didn't have the money to compete, to do the HPDE stuff, I would volunteer for a couple of weekends and work in timing and scoring or violations on the grid to earn points so that I could drive on the track. So, and then I also got my girlfriend involved in it. So now she also does timing and scoring. So she's earning points.
Wow.
So, we're at the track together, which is kind of a nice thing. Most of the guys that are at the track are there by themselves, and it's kind of nice to be there and, wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee, and she goes off to the tower and does her thing. And, I stay in the paddock and work on my car and get to see her at lunch. And at the end of the day, we get to hang out and have a glass of wine or a can of beer.
So, does your daughter, has she been racing at all? Have you drug her in?
My daughter Regan, she has been to the track. She came there that NASA weekend on Saturday and was hanging out. Unfortunately, because of COVID, she wasn't able to do any ride-alongs. Have taught her how to drive a stick shift, so she does know how to drive a stick.
Nice.
Although she'll say that she doesn't, she does. And also my son, who was at the track, Riley, just got his competition license that Friday at GingerMan. And so Riley and I, share the same car and stuff. But yeah, I think, once Reagan's ready, most certainly would like to get her, involved and being at the track. I'm always, trying to encourage the female drivers to come out and try it. And
so what is a competition license?
yeah, so a competition license allows you to go racing wheel to wheel. Most organizations, whether it be SCCA, NASA, will accept the other organization's competition license. So basically, it's just a competition school, and depending on the organization, whether it be BMW, Porsche, they all have certain requirements for being able to go to competition school. With NASA, typically you've got to be an HPDE 4 level student to apply to the competition school, and it's a one-day school. And I'll be honest with you, our HPDE 4 drivers, with their experience level, I would be more than happy to be out there racing on the track with them. They're very competent, drivers out on track.
Okay.
That's awesome. So I think you've got 5 weeks and counting, 5 weekends and counting where you've been on the track, and I am extremely jealous. How did you manage to pull that off?
In the age of COVID.
Exactly.
The girlfriend's very understanding, very supportive. As I said, she's at the track. She doesn't go to grid life events.
I understand.
She does all the NASA events, timing and scoring. And we talk, at the beginning of the season, say, hey, here's the events, that I'm looking at doing, the different weekends. And we just kind of plan that out.
So I'm going to need your guidance, sir. See, I have that same conversation at the beginning of the year with both of the people on here. However, they don't ever listen to the conversation and never actually respond. So I'm just wondering, how do you actually get them to listen and respond to the conversation about setting up the entire year in like December or January? Is there a trick to it?
Oh, I don't know if there's a trick to it. I mean, it's basically a give and take. You know, it's like anything in life. You know, it's a balance between everything. It's a balance between, you know, my personal interest, her personal interest, work balance. You know, family balance. You know, balance and everything. So.
Okay, I was thinking about going to have her hearing check to confirm that she is deaf in the octave range that I speak in.
Right.
Right. No. Okay. For a fair situation here is that Jennifer usually, and for every year, as soon as school lets out, she's a nurse, works in a school system, and her husband is now retired. But even so, before that retirement, they would spend 3 weeks of the summer. Was it about 3 weeks, a month?
Yeah.
They would just hop in their car trailer and they would just cross the country
Oh, that's cool.
every summer for years. So, I mean, she plans around that too.
Right.
So,
But
yeah,
this year we weren't
busy.
sure.
Yeah.
You know, everything was up and up with
That
the
definitely
COVID.
has been a lot tougher
Yeah.
to plan things out. And there were some weekends that did overlap where I had to kind of pick and choose which organization, whether it be Grid Life or NASA, to work with. And then I haven't even mentioned it yet, but also I work for Extreme Experience.
Oh, we know people who do that.
We know them.
So I don't know. I know you guys are on the East Coast. I know there's some John Davis is out there in Pennsylvania.
Chris Abbott.
Chris Abbott's an instructor there. Jeff Wakeman and Christian Mental Ward.
I haven't seen Mental for a while.
That's
Yeah,
usually a good thing.
Yeah.
Mental is now out in
Vegas.
Vegas. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I've been working with Extreme, and if you know their headquarters is in here in Chicago. That's been great, awesome. Working with that team there.
So you never get to drive any of the good cars.
No. And you know, as you know, well aware, they met me at the track. Being 6'4".
Yeah.
You're easy to find.
Easy. Well, but I don't fit in the supercars so good.
No. But you more than fit into the Dodges, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know what's really surprising is the Porsche.
Yeah.
Spacious.
Really?
Yeah.
We might need one of those. Vic?
Yeah. Plenty of room in the Porsche. And so that is my go-to car first thing in the morning when instructors, you know, get to go warm the cars up, you know, at that 7/10.
Yeah.
At that
Right.
7/10 level.
So which ones are your favorites?
Well, the Porsche is one of them. The new Mustang Cobra.
Uh-huh.
There was one of those out there at GingerMan.
Different Cobra. What about the do you fit into the Honda NSX or no?
We had the NSX a couple of years ago, and that was a tight fit. The McLaren is not very spacious either. The pedal box is pretty small, so my big size 15 feet have a little bit of hard time.
Miata's out.
Well, I mean,
you know, when I was looking for cars and stuff, I actually looked at a couple Miatas because, of course, as you know, Miata's always the answer. So,
it is.
So I've heard.
What they say.
So we went and took a tour about 2 miles away from where I work. There's Planet Miata right by us. And I was saying how I'd really like to get a Miata, but Vicky's NB is code for not bills because I bought it and didn't fit with a helmet. So that was a problem. He's like, well, you can fit in this. I'm like, no, I can't. And he takes me over to this one car that they're in the middle of the build for. And what they had done was they'd really tightened up the roll bar,
right.
Lowered the seat, pushed it back a little bit. It was built for a 6'8" gentleman. So
Sure.
I get in there and I'm like the little old lady barely looking over the steering wheel. And I'm like, I guess I can fit. And it was like trying to get into, our E36 race car. So
He looked like he was in a clown car.
I did. in the good way this time, as opposed to the bad way where you're looking over the roll bar. So Miatas can be made to fit. It's just,
yeah, you definitely can make just about any car fit. But I have to say, I'm been pretty happy with the E46. So
Mhm.
great platform to start with.
So what does your upcoming race schedule look like for 2020?
Well, we just raced this last weekend at Audubon Country Club with Grid Life. Off this weekend, and then let's see, then I'm down to Memphis with Extreme, NASA pit race. Are you guys going to be at pit race?
We are.
Yes.
Yes, we have 1, 2, 3 or 4 confirmed, and possibly 6.
Okay. Yeah. So NASA pit race July 24th weekend, and then Mid Ohio with Grid Life the following weekend. So I'm actually going to check and see if might be a possibility that actually, if the race car doesn't have any issues after pit, just to drop the car in the trailer at Mid Ohio and save a little bit on gas and not towing it all the way back to Chicago, only to head right back to Ohio. Then got some extreme races. Let's see what else we got going on here. NASA, you guys, August 7th, 8th, 9th weekend at Audubon Country Club.
I'll be there.
Pretty cool event I'm looking forward to going to. I've never been. Grid Life at Alpine Horizon out at Pikes Peak.
Wow. You get to go all over.
Yeah. And we'll get into the Grid Life, but that one is what they call one of their festival events. And then NASA Mid Ohio.
I'll be there.
And then Grid Life, Road America.
Are you good all the way to the end of the year? I mean, you were able to pretty much fill up with, I mean, with the COVID, or has there been more issues with that, with the NASA?
Well, except for the cancellations, at the beginning of the year with NCM and Mid Ohio and stuff. Yeah, it looks going forward, we're pretty good till the end of the year. I know National canceled their national event out west, but I wasn't planning on doing nationals this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll end up racing at NCM for our end of the year event with NASA, and then a bunch of extreme events then all the way into December. So.
Right.
All right. So it looks like they had a pretty good schedule.
Yeah, it's pretty loaded.
So here's a question. Some people have Instructor have a philosophy on instructing, or like a racing philosophy. Do you have one? And if you do, has it changed over time?
Yeah, I don't want to be that instructor that basically talks about their racing career and their car and all this kind of stuff. I mean, their focus is really on the student and what their end goal is, and what they're trying to learn and do, and some challenges and stuff. And from the start, I've always been a big fan of Ross Bentley. Love all his stuff. And then just recently with Racers 360, I like a lot of the stuff that Dion's doing with Racers 360. So some really good resources out there. And basically, I just try to help that student become a better driver. And I even talking to our chief instructor, Eric Meyer, about wanting to stay in the HPD 1 area, not move up to like HPD 2, 3, or 4, because I feel like being so new myself that and also I think it's more rewarding helping that HPD 1 student show them all the little, I mean, there's so many little things that nobody communicates to that student, whether it be, hey, don't put the parking brake on, to just all sorts of little tidbits and stuff that I feel really makes a difference, and want to welcome them in and make sure they're coming back, and Whether I'm talking to customers at a Grid Life event about a NASA event, or I'm at a NASA event talking to customers about coming to a Grid Life event. I think each, is unique in their own way and has different things to offer. So.
I see. So since we're talking about HPDE.
So how do you think the HPDE went at GingerMan with the COVID? I think the lead follow was pretty good.
Honestly, not well.
No?
Oh,
Do tell, because we thought it was pretty great.
how about we had a great time?
No, NASA Great Lakes is a great group of people, absolutely. But their program is really based around instructing from the right seat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to basically rewrite their entire program to do
Quickly.
no right seat. Because the first event, at Mid-Ohio, they had no HPD1 because they basically just said, hey, we can't do it, not having somebody in the right seat. So trying to do a program with no right seat is a challenge. And brand new program and stuff like that. So, I always, encourage students, to provide feedback, what was good, what was bad, what was working, what didn't. With Grid Life, they've been no right seat now. This, I think, is their third year.
Mm-hmm.
They do no right seat, and they've been doing that for a while.
They have the people located around the track, right?
What's that?
They have the instructors located around the track, I think.
Yeah. So with Grid Life, we do it. Yeah, we do lead follow. We also do corner observation, like some other organizations do with walkie-talkies. So we station the instructors before that student session to observe the different corners, and we're on radios with notepads, taking notes about, the red Miata and how they missed the apex, or they, downshifted in the corner. But it's not easy. You can be a great instructor in the right seat and not be so good out of the right seat. It definitely takes a skill to do that lead follow, watching your mirrors, communicate type thing. So.
Right.
So I would say for a personal feedback on the event is that if there was a way for the instructor to communicate to the cars, and I know that they don't want radios in the car, and I don't know how well you could hear radios with the helmet on.
Oh no, you could hear it fine. Yeah,
but if they had that to where they could put a radio in the car and just have the instructor talk to the drivers, but not have the drivers talk back to the instructors, because I'm sure the instructors could have radios in their helmet.
Yes.
That would be very, very helpful, because then the people like us following behind, we wouldn't have to guess what our instructor is intending us to do, because he's leading us to what he wants us to do.
Right.
Or he's kind of given the idea, but then he might switch it up and say, okay, when we come back, did you see, like my instructor will come back and say, did you see how I took you down that one angle and brought you back up? And then I brought you down this other angle and brought you back up. What did that feel like? But if we were prepared for what he was going to do in the moment, then we could kind of better gauge if that was a possibility in the age of COVID. Now that would be great. But
I totally agree and totally want to do that at the next event. So I have radios that I use for racing.
Right.
I think I could figure out a way to where, like you said, the student really wouldn't need to do any talking, but definitely would have a headset that would allow them to easily hear what the instructor was talking to them about. So yeah,
but the lead follow definitely had benefits. Yeah, very much so.
Too much. To be honest, I don't think we should have went out every session in a lead follow.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Grid Life, we have brand new beginners and we do one lead follow and they go out on their own.
Right. And I believe that, as GingerMan went, I think I got the most out of that day with the reverse track.
Okay.
I really did, because doing that took me out of my own head and then let me just focus on the track and not on the instructor's car behind us.
And you weren't lead follow there either.
We weren't lead follow. We had a really hard time looking up from the tail end of the instructor's car to focus on what we were supposed to be focusing on. But once the instructor was not on the track, we were able to focus on the track.
Right. Yeah. So I with Grid Life, we did just one lead follow that first session Saturday, and the rest of the weekend was planned not to do any lead follow. And we ended up finding that we dedicated an instructor to go out every session and talk to students saying, hey, would you like to do a couple laps behind an instructor car? And some did and some didn't. And he would basically kind of work his way through the field. And so maybe for a half a lap or a lap, depending on where you're at, you would get to follow the instructor car, and then you would be kind of left on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to try the radios. I think the radios have the same thought as you do. I think that would definitely, in the moment, talk to it about, hey, we're getting ready to go in this corner. I want you to do this.
Yeah, like even when I was following you around the corner, you were pointing. So I didn't know, did you want my wheels there? Or are you pointing to show me where you have your wheels is where you want me to put my wheels? Like it was,
There's confusion. There's instructors that think they need to point to exactly what it is that they want you to look at, which I think is kind of hard. Basically, the pointing is, hey, just make sure you're right in my tracks. That's really what that signal is telling you. If you look at the Motorsports Safety Foundation hand signal thing, it's, hey, just follow my tracks. But the radio saying, hey, get ready. I really want you to get those left tires right up to this point. And I even think taking some things from Extreme Experience and applying that to more of an HPDE program, because really the Extreme Experience, I jokingly say it, but it's kind of true. I have two jobs with Extreme. One, make sure the customer has a great time. We're high-fiving at the end because it's Disney for them, and to save the car. We're not there to teach them how to drive. That's really, it's an experience. It truly is an experience. So high fives at the end and don't wreck the car. That's a win. But I think Extreme does some things that you may not be aware of. We have cones for everything. So they go to a classroom. They're taught by an instructor what to expect when they go out on track. So you're going to see two yellow cones. That's lift. We have a hand signal for lift. We're still seated in the car. So it's lift, off the gas, no gas. Then we have cones for brakes, like the brake markers, but they're actually red cones, 4, 3, 2, 1. Signal for brake. This is the signal for brake. And this is hand signals that we're using in the right seat, in HPDE. So it's brake. Once you're slow enough, it's release brakes. And then you start pointing. And then we also have cones for turn in. So we have a stand up orange and a tip down orange to tell you exactly where to turn at. Now, most tracks do have a turn in cone, but most don't have an apex cone. We have a green apex cone in the middle of the corner. That's where you're supposed to apex, and then an orange cone for actual track out. So basically those cones help guide you around the track. And I think for a brand new, beginner student that's never been to a track, that at least for the first half of that first day, because as we all know, once the race car drivers get out there, the cones are gone. So they're using all the track and then hit something.
Yeah, that's what they said in our class was like, don't rely on the cones because they might not be there when you get there.
Now with Extreme, the cones are always there because it's a $500 charge for a customer to hit a cone. So guess what? They don't hit any cones.
Oh, dang.
But I think, if the beginners went out their first session and the cones were set up properly, I think for myself, I think that would help kind of guide them around the racetrack. So
no, I think that another thing that I found very, very helpful was on the track was that it was almost like a mini autocross that you guys did at the end.
Right. Yeah.
That was very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had an HPDE that we attended where they actually did that. And that was very helpful.
Okay. Making a
Oh,
note.
Oh,
we
Bill's
got-
taking notes. Oh, we actually have some suggestions if you'd like us to add to it from our own personal feedback as being a student.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
great.
Yep. And we can talk about that now, or you can send that to me, or
Well, I'm going to talk about it now, and I'm going to send it to you, and it's going to be on our podcast notes. But hey. So we went through and went over kind of. We were in the middle of a parking lot under a roof in the rain with trucks going by when
kids.
we did our last podcast. Oh, and kids coming through on bikes. So it was a wonderful podcast environment. But what we were thinking was there was a couple things that we thought might make it just a little bit better. I think we agreed that some of the tricky part of this is when you've got a run group of one instructor and two students. If one of the students in a Miata, the instructor's in a Mustang GT 350, and the other one's in a Porsche, the Miata is going to have a little trouble, trying to, you're sitting there on the bumper in the turn, and then it gets to the straightaway, and the guy's sitting there tapping the roof, which means, come on, catch up to me. And the Miata's going, I'm trying.
I heard that even this past weekend. There was a female driver, Taylor, great driver. She was getting it. And she said, yeah, when we tell the other students to lift, when they're given the point by, she says, yeah, if you're not like completely coming off the gas, I'm not going to be able to get around you.
Yeah. So I think maybe the groups being like a low horsepower, high horsepower in the middle,
right?
Matching the instructor. Because I even had a little trouble because I was in a Toyota 86, and one of my instructors at one time was in I think it was a C5 or a C6, and going from turn 2 to turn 3, he kept tapping his roof, and I'm like, I'm trying, but you slowed down so much in turn 2, I'm going to take a bit. But at turn 3, I'm sitting on your butt going, let's go, dude. Bring it. So, whatever. But it was fine.
And like I mentioned, just because you're a great right seat instructor doesn't make you a great, lead follower to the right seat instructor.
It's hard because it's backwards.
Yeah.
Being aware that car, no matter how hard they try it, are not going to be able to keep up to you. And you need to back your speed down and adjust to that. But I mean, we're learning doing this. We had actually hand signals as we came in the pits. So John Santiago, the classroom instructor, one was, that the first car, was a 1, 2, or 3, 1 being the fastest, 2 being middle, and 3 being slow, so that he could then reshuffle students to kind of match up like student speeds in different groups. So
speaking of which, how about if we're stuck with the lead follow as a model, we have like an unofficial, just between you and us, right? We have an unofficial group HPDE 1.5 where the people who need to be lead follow still stay with the lead follow, but the other people who can be the leader and have the instructor be the follower, it's still lead follow, but nobody needs to know.
I got very lucky because with my instructor, I was also paired up with a very quick guy, and we were just all over that track. I mean, we were just passing everybody. It really worked out for us, our group. But I know that there was probably other people on the track that were not doing that.
Yeah, so I have done the follow instructing, and the first time I did it, I had a high horsepower Mustang, horsepower BMW, and I had my street driving 330, which is not high horsepower, and it did fine behind me. But as soon as I gave the point by to the Mustang, I never saw him again. I'm like,
he's like, peace out.
Like, oh yeah, I wondered why you weren't behind me. I'm like, I was pedaling as fast as I could. So I do agree. I think there is some benefit from doing it both in the front and from the rear. You can observe better, and also listen to the radios, which I think is a great idea. I think we need a requirement that we have in-car video. Part of the requirement is you have to have a video in your car, whether it be a GoPro or your phone or something that shows your hands on the steering wheel and looking out the windshield of the car.
Right. So I think this one was Jen's. Jen, you had a little trouble on Saturday, I believe.
Oh, yeah. So I found like the first day we went out, we had 3 people or 4 people in our
Students.
group. So 3 students. Yeah. So I found out, and I talked to, I forget the gentleman's name in the
John?
BMW. John, is it John?
No, John was your instructor.
No, who's the
chief instructor was Eric Meyer.
No, the other student in our group, the guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we both kind of felt the same way. I think having 3 people was really tough. Having 2 people was great, because I found even being the second person, like I could still, I didn't have to even focus on the car in front of me. I could still focus on the instructor because I could still see the instructor.
Yeah,
so
well,
like I could see where you were making your turns, but being that third car was you really were kind of lost. Like, you know, because you just couldn't even see what the instructor was doing, or, you know what I mean? So I think just having the 2 in the group worked way better than having the 3. Day 2 was much better.
Motorsport Safety Foundation's recommendations for lead follow is absolutely no more than 3.
Yeah.
But
I found being third was really tough
At a basic level. I think it gets easier when you go up in the ranks, because I think at that point you're working on nuances.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
But like if that second person is making the turn just a little bit off, then you make the turn even worse off. You know what I mean? Because you can't see like what the
chain reaction, you know, you're off, and you're way off.
Yeah. But even being the second person, you can still see what the instructor's doing and where the car is. Yeah.
You know, and this is HPDE in the age of COVID.
Yeah.
Right now, you know,
it's all new.
I mean, but definitely this is a great opportunity to add another phase into the HPDE, like learning from this angle now, being forced to learn from this angle, and then incorporating that maybe in the future to NASA. I mean, very beneficial.
Things that work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, you know, each has its merits. But I still would say
in car.
There's really no substitute for that.
Yeah.
And
especially for HPDE 1.
How many times I've had students ride along with me in my car, and the light just goes on. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Oh,
right.
That's what you mean by weight transfer or threshold braking or getting to the edge of the track or whatever." They just don't get it until they ride along in another car. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the not being able to ride along is a problem. So I have a solution. So for instance, if
sorry, Bill.
if I know that right now we've got the traditional NASA model is you can and you should get as many ride-alongs as you can with the level 4 drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But now you've got a much smaller pool, because it not only needs to be a level 4 driver, but you need to be related to them. So that gets real small. So how about, you know, like Jennifer could have gone out and I could have right seat with her because I was in level 2. Not that I'm giving her instruction, but there were certain things that I could pick up, and not to overrule the drills or not to overrule anything, but perhaps I could assume a right seat inferior position, but then we'd be able to have more right seats.
Right. And I think unfortunately, a lot of those decisions are made by the lawyers and the insurance companies.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you would just teach her bad habits anyway.
Well, wow. I mean, obviously, because I beat you on the simulator by 12 seconds on my first lap, that I can't beat you. But you know, that's fine. That's fine.
Kimmy doesn't believe in the simulators, so
no, that's fine. And then we did talk about the radios. We actually brought 8 of our radios just in case they were allowed, because we've got all our helmets have the radio input, and we have the 8 other radios, and we could just hook somebody in. So the radios would be a great way to do it. And we have them set up so that we have a shared channel or series of channels with the 8. So we could have had our entire group using the same common separate radio signal.
Right.
But we didn't. But that's okay. It was still fun. We had a great time.
To try the radios. I think the radios.
No, I got so much out of the that event at GingerMan. I felt like I grew greatly from that event
Good.
in my driving skills.
It's a nice track. I really liked it a lot.
Very, very chill vibe there.
Yeah.
Was it you that was on the bike saying that you were bicycling around the track?
Yeah, so my son Riley
Yeah.
and I, we did like 3 or 4 laps. I actually had, because was kind of an avid cyclist, would like to even like start getting together like group rides, people like they do track walks, but instead of track walk, because I really think riding the track, one, you can get more laps in as opposed to a walk. Usually you're only going to do one track walk. You're just going to walk it once.
Right.
Well, too many people will walk it more than once. But on a bicycle, you can do 3, 4 laps about the same time it takes you to walk it. And it's slow enough that you can still pick up those little, creases and things that you're looking for turn in or whatever on the track. But then you also get a kind of a feel for the flow. You can tell, oh, I didn't realize the back straight at GingerMan is uphill, that steep. You can still feel it on a bicycle. So
Right.
Yeah, that would be really good to add to the when you go into entry, just like track walks and bicycle track walks or cycling will be available.
Yeah, maybe even
and
for
that way,
beginners.
I mean, if you do that, we would throw a bike in. Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe for beginners, the requirement is you have to do a Friday night track walk. That's a requirement
Oh yeah.
of the program.
It would help.
Especially if you've been that track before.
Yeah. So maybe that would be the HPDE 1, and the people who'd been there before had been HPDE 1.5. But anyway,
No, I mean, you do make a good point. I know you're kind of jokingly, but not jokingly, but I do think now with this new way of instructing that we need to look at splitting it up even more, because it used to be where before our 1 and 2s were run together,
Right.
and now we're kind of separating them out. So I think we need to probably look at doing that too, and maybe not every HPD 1 student needs to do a lead follow every session.
Right.
yeah, it made it. I think one of the things that Jennifer especially had trouble with was one of the keys to getting better is to look further, and the lead follow with somebody right in front of you makes it even harder.
Yeah, kind of defeats that purpose.
Yeah, look as far as you can, but make sure you run my tires.
Watch where I'm going.
I agree. And I'm shocked. I mean, with Grid Life, the fact that they're out there for the most part on their own. We got people never been on track before. Back in the right seat, people I think felt like they were invincible because I've got an instructor in the right seat to protect me. Where now there's nobody there, and they're responsible for their own safety.
Yeah.
I think they take a little bit more responsibility for their driving and not try to overdrive.
Yeah.
So let's see. What are the most important takeaways that the newbies should know or have down before working on more advanced driving?
Takeaways. I think, probably for me, the thing that I would recommend to a driver, whether it be a newbie or somebody who's been driving for a while, is being self-aware and being able to analyze your driving and what happened, and not say, not tell you what happened, but say, hey, did you notice this? And, oh yeah, I noticed when I went in that corner, I wasn't all the way over to the side of the track, so that caused me to to have more of an early apex, and then that forced me off the track. Having that self-awareness is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to recognize their errors or how their driving's going.
What they did wrong and what the result of that error was. Oh yeah, it caused me to do this, or I ended up doing that.
Right.
Oh yeah, that would work.
I would.
But my other suggestions, to new students is track map. You should have a track map with you for every track. Study the track map. You should know the track, every corner number memorized before you ever get there. So that when somebody's talking about turn, 3 at GingerMan, you know exactly what turn 3 is. You don't even have to like, oh, wait a second, okay, now you know exactly where turn 3 is at.
Mm-hmm.
And having at least 2 things that you're working on in every session.
Mm-hmm.
Going on the track, you're just not going out there to drive, but you actually have specific things that you're working on. I mean, really specific, whether it's a end of braking point or a turn-in point or something that you're looking for a reference for. And then when you come off track, you should write down 2 things, at least 2 things on your track map that you learned. Hey, this is what I'm going to use for this corner here. Or I learned that I need to, watch out for this bump, coming out of this corner. I need to stay a little bit more right. And write down on that track map, I think helps you learn the track even better. So
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, Jennifer, we had talked about that before, and I think that when you're a beginner, you just you don't have that awareness just in general, and it's almost as if, and this is only from our perspective, is that everything is important, and it's really hard to focus on just one thing, probably until you get like 3 or 4 HPDEs in, until you actually start recognizing what the car feels like, what a track feels like, what a really solid apex feels like, and in and out. But going into like your first 2, you're just like, everything is important because you just try to survive on the track.
to put it all together.
Yeah.
With extreme experience, we're not there really to teach them anything. And we highly encourage them to do, we have ride-alongs in the SS. So it's an extra $50, but I tell customers, I said, if you have the time, I would highly recommend it because it's going to make your experience in the supercar that much better, because now you're not having to just figure out where the track is going and the car. So I think, also with the HPD program, like you said, it's just so much to take in. If you've never been to a track, and where's the line, and what do I do, and how do I do this, and where is it going, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, waiting for that aha moment to kick in,
right.
And it will come together at some point, but it's, me and Jennifer, like, it's not making a connection yet. We're getting there. We feel some bits, but not all of it yet.
We'll get you.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So we have a traditional question format that we try to do in just about every podcast that we have, and it's called the good, the bad, the ugly. So what we're going to do for our good, the bad, the ugly is, how did Jen do on her HPDE?
Oh my gosh.
Jen has it read ahead in the notes. So this is a surprise to Jennifer. So pretend Jennifer's not here. It's just you and I. Nobody listens to our podcast. It's fine. What did Jen do well, if anything? What did she do that could use a little work? And please, 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 even if you have to make it up, what was really ugly? It's tough because you weren't in the right seat, though.
No, it's fine. I'm
trying to remember what Jennifer driving. No.
What did she do well? When she was right behind me, she stayed right behind me. Didn't drop back any. Followed me right in the tracks. I would say probably one of the challenges that most people have is using all of the track, all the way to the edge of the track. You feel like you're at the edge and you're really not. So things I encourage students when they're out there driving on that cool down lap is to actually, pick an area and just go ahead and drop a tire off into the grass.
Really?
Yeah. It's not lemons.
Wow. Every time I keep thinking about dropping a tire off it's that one tire that's gonna like do something funky and cause me to spin.
No, you'd be surprised. I mean, definitely there are some areas on the track that you probably would not want to do that, but it is going to happen someday, and to have it happen at a much slower speed and react to it as opposed to a higher speed and react to it, I think is very helpful. So
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely, that's the time to experiment, that cool down lap, really get those tires right to the edge of the track.
That's something that takes a little bit of courage.
Not on a cool down.
Tiny bit of courage.
But I think you'll surprise yourself in the fact that it's really not that bad,
Really?
especially at the slower speeds.
Yeah. I think that's part of it for us. It's just working up that nerve to do and trust the car.
Sure. Yeah.
It's really pushing that comfort zone when, okay, I'm fine. Oh geez, I don't know. Hey,
Right.
that wasn't so bad.
Pucker moment on track, thinking, I'm not going to make this. Haven't reached the slip angle of the tires and the maximum grip of the car through that corner.
Right. Yeah. So what?
We're making diamonds here,
We're working on it. So what do you think some of the I guess if we had some recommendations, some of the stuff that we should be really focusing on in Pittsburgh, or just follow the book?
I wouldn't want to, especially at this level, not focus in so much on being really track specific, but just driving in general.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going back to the basics, be consistent, be consistent on your line every lap. We talked about, even sometimes slowing the car down and going a little bit slower will actually make you faster. So in just being, good with the basics, as far as, steering input, not, having a jerky steering input, being smooth on the gas and the brake pedal. So all kind of the basics, I think is more important than, hey, this specific corner, this specific track.
Mm-hmm.
Because every track is going to have that. And there are going to be corners at one track that are very similar to corners at another track. But as long as you're doing the basics right,
Mm-hmm.
be fine.
Just
focus hard on those.
Just remember, the two of you, okay? All three of us, the hosts of this podcast, none of us are going there with lots of horsepower.
No.
So when you get to Pittsburgh, concentrate on making a really good turn when you're starting to go back up the hill, because if you kill that turn and slow down, that hill is forever on the way back up.
Yeah, that hill definitely be long.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about cars, how Miatas are momentum cars, and there's also the argument that all cars are momentum cars. You want to maintain your momentum through the corners and stuff like that. But I would say just focus on the basics and just gradually build your speed up. So that means driving 5 miles slower to allow you to get to the apex. Then that's what I would do. I wouldn't overdrive the car and overdrive your abilities and miss all your marks.
What is the your favorite track in your circuit?
Favorite track I've driven, I would have it probably is pit race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be
In the
NCM.
grid.
It's my favorite.
NCM,
NCM? What's NCM?
National Corvette Museum.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's in your circuit. Okay.
NCM's in our region. I've been to Road America, Mid Ohio, and of course, lots of history and stuff. And to think, that all these famous drivers like Phil Donahue and Paul Newman and Mario Andretti and all this have driven on this same patch of pavement and stuff like that is pretty cool. But I think as a driver, as far as just challenging, pit race is a pretty challenging track. I mean, if you've never been there before, you will be absolutely totally lost.
We've been there, and it is a tricky track, but it's a fun track. It definitely has a lot of challenges.
Yeah,
more so than just looking at it on a map.
Yeah, my first time there, went out in warm-ups to race. I had never been there before. I'd looked at track maps and came in and like, yeah, I'm not racing. I'm just going to run HPDE4. There's no way I'm racing on this track. And I was also instructing. So I had 2 HPDE1 sessions with my student before my qualifying. And so I'm out there, instructing, the student and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to figure out where the corners are at and got a little bit better. So that by the time qualifying came for me, I was like, oh, you know what? This time I don't feel like I'm going to kill myself. So I went ahead and raced. But I will say that I think both make me better at each. So I think instructing makes me a better racer. And I think being a racer makes me a better instructor. But I definitely think being a instructor definitely makes me a better racer. So.
Okay.
Very cool.
So, Bill, this is where we get to know you.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to take you back and
now.
Well, yeah, but this is the fun part. This is our Fast and Furious story time questions.
I was already having fun, but whatever.
Yeah. We're going to take you back a little bit. We're going to get to know you, and see who you are. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay. So, what was your first car, and what was the worst car you ever had?
For my own first car, Fiat 131.
What year?
79 or something around there.
That was your very first car you've ever owned?
Yeah,
Nice.
Fiat 131.
That's not a bad start.
No, not a bad start at all.
Yeah, bike seat, two-door. I don't know if you've ever seen the Fiat 131 rally car. But yeah, take a look at it. It's a pretty cool looking car. And then probably the worst car was a 4-door Chevy Celebrity.
Oof. I'm sorry. I apologize.
And why did you have that car?
That's a good question. I think that's probably all I could afford. Yeah, I was in college. And actually one of the strangest cars I've ever owned was a Ford Fiesta. I was living in California, didn't have a lot of money, working 2 jobs. I paid $500 for this Ford Fiesta. It was a really, really bright green color. German made, not a Festiva, but a Fiesta. So it was German made. Nice car, plenty of room in it, boxy, hatchback car, but for somebody 6'4", it had tons of room. And I put probably a $400 bike rack on it, Yakima bike rack, because I was into cycling.
Bike rack was as much as the car.
Stereo, and like a $400 stereo. So I looked more in the stereo and the bike rack than the car was. And the thing about that car was it was such a unique color that there was no way I could call in sick to work because somebody see the car out somewhere. So, I saw your car. And I even have a picture of it. I'm driving from California to Staten Island for a job in the Ford Fiesta. I stopped in Colorado to do some skiing. I'm standing on the top of the mountain. I look down the mountain in the parking lot, and I can literally see my car in the parking lot. Yep, that's my car right there.
Okay, so what is the car from your family that sticks out in your mind, like when you were a child?
From the family, probably a couple of them. We were big fan. We went camping and all that kind of stuff. So Chevy Suburban, before Chevy Suburbans were like a thing. So back in the the 70s, we had the big Chevy Suburban, and then before that was a Pontiac Catalina 4-door. The little covers that covered up the back wheels.
Oh, okay.
Little cover that had a little lever that you release, and so you can get the wheel off, but it had a cover on it. But big old boat.
So, what is the one thing that no one knows about you that would surprise them?
Oh, one thing about me that nobody knows. Right.
He's an open book.
No, I'm no secrets here probably. So
Great.
All right, very well.
All right. Let's see. Automatic or stick?
automatic or stick what?
Car.
Car?
Or
Transmission.
Oh, yeah. Always a stick. Yeah. Save the sticks. Save the manuals.
Who's your favorite driver?
Favorite driver? I don't know if I really have a favorite driver. That's a good question.
I don't
Who's your
either.
favorite driver?
yeah.
All right.
No, you don't have a favorite driver? How about yours?
I don't have a favorite.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
He's my favorite driver.
Jen.
A lot of, being that I get help from Turner and stuff like that, I would, probably lean more towards, Bill Oberlin or Robbie Foley or something like that. But yeah, and I've been kind of disillusioned with F1, back in the day, watching Michael Schumacher and stuff like that. Kind of off story real quick here. As I was telling you, was really involved with my kids and stuff. So I found out that a Boy Scout troop down in Indianapolis was going to have a camp out before the F1 race at Indy. So I managed to get like a dozen or so tickets for my boys up here, and took some scouts down there, and we camped out in the infield and had a little meet and greet with some of the lower level, entry level. I think back in that day it was like Formula BMW or something that were like the opening show for the F1 race.
Mm-hmm.
We camped out in the infield, and because they're opening up the track by like I think 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we had part of the thing was we had to have the tents all down and packed up by like 5:30 in the morning. And needless to say, the F1 fans that thought they were going to have great seats on the infield because they were first in line at the gate to see a bunch of scouts already there.
You need to get over it.
What is that one car that got away?
What's that?
What is that one car that got away?
One car. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I mean, even though I've followed racing and stuff, I haven't really been like a,
Car guy?
car.
You haven't had that one favorite car that you just had to get rid of, but you didn't really want to?
My cousins all had cars that I wish they would have never gotten rid of. So I had one cousin that had like the Firebird, with the big eagle on the hood, the brown car.
Fire
Nice.
chicken.
Yeah,
Screaming
I had
chicken.
one that had Chevelle SS, Camaro, that kind of stuff. But
He's an art guy. Guys, quit putting pressure on him.
yeah, I don't think there's really been a car that I've had that I wish I would not have gotten rid of. So
There you go.
I know that's kind of probably unusual, but
Nope, not at all.
there's cars I definitely want. I definitely want, a Porsche 911 is probably one of the cars that I've always dreamed about, that red, with the whale tail.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to redo that Memorex commercial, right?
What's that?
You just want to redo that Memorex commercial with the
Commercial, yeah.
There you go. So do you prefer front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, or does it matter?
Probably rear wheel drive because that's what I race and stuff. But I will tell you that in iRacing, the TCR car, the Audi,
Mhm.
front wheel drive car is pretty fun to drive in iRacing. So
We'll have to
I
try that
personally have post-traumatic stress syndrome from driving a front-wheel drive, personally. But that's just me.
why is that?
It was awful. Well, the car that was set up was very loose, number
Okay.
one. And it required me to modify all my entries.
Okay.
Because it just felt like that I was constantly losing the back end all the time. And I didn't know how to adjust for that because all my power was up front.
Right.
So it just we
Yeah,
had
it's
to
definitely
switch
a
it.
different technique to drive it. That's for sure.
It is. And then going into a race and learning how to drive it was awful. So I don't know if I would do it again. Don't do it.
You'll do it.
Not for the first time. You're up.
That was you. Okay. So what is the fastest you've ever driven a car? What car and at what track?
Fastest I've ever, it's pretty funny because usually when I was taking the car to the track on an open trailer, you'd get people come up to you, and the first question they ask you is, how fast does it go? So probably the fastest car I've driven is the Lamborghini Huracan going up the hill at Road America at probably 160 miles an hour.
Wow.
Wow.
Was that a pucker moment?
Not really. That car is pretty planted, so yeah, pretty fun.
Let me see.
So
What would be your desert island top 5? And of course, the island has a track.
So top 5 cars?
Yes.
Okay. Well, definitely the Porsche.
911.
Yeah, Porsche 911.
How about that Lamborghini?
I don't fit in the Lamborghini all that great, so
He's not a
How about a
5.
Suburban?
Yeah, Suburban. Wow, you guys got some great questions. Let's see. Probably some of the older race cars. The old Can-Am cars from back in the day. I've never driven an open wheel car, so it might be kind of fun to have an open wheel car.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably something with some just ridiculous, 1,000 horsepower Bugatti Veyron or whatever the latest and greatest, crazy high horsepower supercar there is out there right now, the Agera or whatever. Might be kind of fun. But to be honest, I've been kind of spoiled with extreme. I mean, I would have never thought, based on my salary that, I'd be driving, Ferrari 458s, 488s, and Huracans and McLarens and all these different, cars on racetracks. I never dreamed that would ever be a thing, So that's kind of cool. So
That is kind of nice to be able to do that.
yeah. I mean, most of the time, we're in the right seat, but, that morning warm-up where you get about 8 laps out there, it's pretty special. And then occasionally you get that one customer that's too young to drive themselves. They just want to get taken around for 3 laps. So that's always fun.
So what is your favorite car movie?
Oh, favorite car movie. There's quite a few of them. Of course, classic, Le Mans is probably one. I was trying to think of the name of it. Let's say it's an Australian movie. The title has what they call junkyards in Australia. So I don't know if you know what the name for a junkyard. I'd have to go down and find it. But
No.
What's that?
No, I don't.
I can't think of what the name of that movie is, but it's a racer that has a junkyard and basically is struggling, life struggles, all that kind of stuff. So, and maybe not, I know it's not, you asked me about race car movie, but probably one of my most favorite movies is Breaking Away. So if you've never seen Breaking Away.
Robbie Benson?
Nope.
No.
Breaking Away, Dennis Christopher.
Okay.
Dennis Quaid, bicycling movie.
Yep.
So if you've never seen it, do me a favor, watch it. Great movie. It kind of centers loosely around cycling, but I think it's a great story. Plus, it takes place in my home state, so I'm always kind of.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. The guy just around the way just turned on country music, so you might be hearing country. Hope you don't mind.
Not a big country fan, but I can't hear it, so we're good.
Okay, good. It just went on.
As long as we don't have to pay rights fees, we'll be fine.
All right. So if you could only drive cars from one decade, both your daily driver and your race car, what decade from the past would you choose?
Well, I do have kind of an old race car, so I guess probably that. I'm pretty
2000s, huh?
What's that?
2000s then?
Around the 2000, yeah.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
fun.
I'm pretty happy with that.
All right. Very well.
He's easygoing.
I'm interested in the electric, and it's pretty funny. I was following the electric open wheel racing. Well, I think it started about 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was just like really down on it and just saying how terrible it was and all this stuff. And it's interesting to see now how the popularity of it has kind of picked up and stuff. I don't know if you've had a chance to catch some of it and stuff, but it's pretty interesting how it went from being kind of a joke and everybody kind of poo-pooing it to being a lot more popular. And I think that eventually that's going to be the future. So
We're racing electric cars.
yeah. As much as I would hate to see gas go away, I just think it's probably inevitable.
Right.
Have you driven an electric car? Maybe.
I've never been in an electric car. How do they perform on the track?
Yeah.
Golf cart.
There was one at Grid Life. They had a Tesla there that was out running. Yeah. They're pretty amazing. The acceleration.
Really?
Yeah. It's.
I don't think I've ever considered an electric car as a race car. I don't know why.
One time at the golf course.
The Volkswagen Pikes Peak car is.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Oh, I mean, it has something you got to look into.
You're right.
Mm-mm.
No, it's Bill.
Oh,
Bill's
I get this
question.
one. All right, fine. Fair.
Please.
Nobody likes my question, so I'm asking it anyway. Vicky's already edited out my questions before, so I'm doing this one. Jeremy, Hammond, May, Chris, Matt, other?
Probably because I've met him in person. I don't know if you're talking about Matt Farah. Is that what you're?
Sure.
Right.
Matt's a big Grid Life guy.
I get teased I look like Jeremy, so.
No, the only thing similar is your height.
Yeah. So what's that?
The only thing similar is your height.
Yeah. But yeah, Matt, he's been to some Grid Life events, and for fun, if you ever want to, just Google One Take Specky 46. He's actually driven my race car as part of his YouTube video channel, so that was pretty cool.
Really? Oh, I've probably seen it because I think I've seen all of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, you know,
So
he
what-
takes customers' cars where he's driving in the canyons, but he also does some one-take track takes or whatever it's called, where he's on a racetrack. So he.
Oh, yours was at the Grid Life, the Spec 46. I remember that one. He liked your car.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Nice.
Okay, so what was your first CD, 8-track, cassette, or album?
Probably one of the first albums I remember buying is Beatles' "Let It Be."
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, my kids, you know, growing up to expose them to a whole bunch of different kind of music. So whether it's the Rolling Stones or Elvis or the Beatles, tried to give them a nice round exposure to music and stuff like that.
So, when or what was your driving aha moment on the racetrack?
On the racetrack, aha moment was probably shortly after starting and realizing that you wanted to pretty much have just one input going into the car. You didn't want to really.
That was mine. That was
first.
happened to me at GingerMan.
He had it first.
Yeah. So, yeah, trying, you know, that old theory, that example they teach, kind of where they talk about like a string attached to the pedals and the steering wheel. So, you know, if you're pushing on the brake and you start moving the steering wheel, it pulls the brake pedal up. And, you know, if you push on the gas pedal, it pulls the steering wheel straight. So not having a lot of steering input and punching the gas, that was probably it.
Yeah, I agree. I 100%.
So where would your ultimate road trip be from and to, and in what car?
Ultimate road trip.
Ultimate road trip.
I would probably say
It doesn't even have to be in the U.S. It could be anywhere.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely not going to be in the U.S. I drove it in a minivan, a stick shift minivan, on a work trip because I was the only person in my group of 7 that knew how to drive a stick shift. So sad for the people that had to ride with me. But the Amalfi Coast in Italy.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
First
beautiful.
one for that.
Yeah, and I want to say it's in Gran Turismo and stuff too, but
I
just
think it is.
beautiful road. I can't imagine, some nice open top Ferrari or something like that would just be spectacular.
So, I have a off-topic question.
Sure.
Do you like racing, or do you like teaching, or do you like both? What do you get the most out of for NASA?
I would say probably the teaching, and I would say I would probably like the racing more if I was at the pointy end of the field and not mid-pack.
Right.
So I don't think I'm a little bit maybe too risk adverse to really put the car in harm's way. Also, because I'm a big guy, I'm not to spec weight. So 2850 is the minimum weight that a spec E46 car and driver can weigh. And I'm easily 100 to 125 pounds over spec weight, which doesn't help. But, yeah, so I would say probably instructing, helping other people, to me.
Yeah, I think was that as we're going through the questions, I'm picking up more on the NASA instruction more than the actual I'm a gearhead, because I don't feel a gearhead in you as much as I do a teacher.
Oh, I like
a teacher and a driver.
I like the competition. I do like the competitiveness of it. I also like the camaraderie. To me,
yeah.
And I think it's just more of hanging out with people with similar interests at the track and stuff. So I'm really about, at the end of the day, cracking a cold one and kicking back and telling stories about the day and all that kind of stuff. To me,
and a job well done.
Yeah, it's as fun, if not more fun, than the day itself. So
you sound like a guy who found his tribe.
But yeah, I've been really super lucky to have hooked up with Jay and the whole NASA Great Lakes area, and then also the guys at Grid Life. So if you guys really aren't too familiar with Grid Life, I'll tell you right now, get it on your calendar to get to a Grid Life event.
Now, where is Grid Life usually focused at? Mostly,
they're Midwest. They go all the way back to the days of Honda Challenge. So there were a bunch of Honda guys. They had a thing at GingerMan called Honda Me, and it just kind of grew from there. Chris Stewart, then because of, I think, his interest in music and stuff, combined a concert. So they also do a concert, and now we have drifters that come to the event. So Von Gittin and all the other pro drifters are at the event. They have a car show, so you get all the stance boys, they're showing off their cars and stuff like that. And it's not like any other HPD event. So I'll tell my Grid Life customer that's at a festival event. There's 2 festivals. One's the one in GingerMan. So get your calendar out. Let's see. October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. You need to be at GingerMan.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Their HPD tickets sell out within about 5 seconds.
Wow. Wow.
They literally like are on their F1 keys. And if it's 12 o'clock, they're like hitting the button to try to buy tickets. It's so popular. Their regular weekend, like this last one at Audubon Country Club, it's like more of a typical HPDE, kind of track weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The festival one is crazy. I mean, it is crazy. And I am like when you think of a Grid Life customer, I'm like the total opposite. I don't flat brim my hat.
Nope.
I don't have any tattoos. I don't have any gauges in my ear. I don't vape, and I don't drive a Subaru. So,
Yep.
but I'll tell you that what they're doing for motorsports and getting people interested in motorsports, so that it's still going to be a thing, when we're not in motorsports anymore, I think is great. You'll have people there that really have no interest in it. They might be there just for the concert, so they're wandering around the paddock. They're walking in front of, race cars that just came off the track with hot brakes. And as you all know, typically when the hot, race car comes off the track, they kind of have the right of way, because you want to let them get to the paddock and not, hurt their car. But
Right.
walking around and they don't give a crap. But I tell my students we're going to give ourselves extra time to get to grid, because we know there's going to be thousands of people walking in the paddock, and there literally are thousands of people. So you were just a GingerMan. You can imagine GingerMan with that open field between corners 2 and 3 on the side of the fence. I don't know if you noticed it, but there's imagine that field completely full of tents.
Oh.
Completely full, like Woodstock.
Oh, geez.
Big, huge stage behind the corner there in corner 2 for the concert. It's just amazing. And these guys love motorsports and, are really doing, I think, some great things. Their videos and stuff are just amazing. So their drone footage, you'll look and see the drone footage from this last weekend's race start. I mean, literally driving down the front straight at Autobahn, and thought the drone was going to hit my wing as I went underneath of it.
Oh, geez.
And their production, their marketing, their brand is just off the hook.
Wow. Do you think that they would still have that with COVID?
Yeah, because it was supposed to be in June.
Oh, okay.
So typically, Grid Life Festival at GingerMan is in June. That's been postponed now till October.
Okay.
What that's going to look like in October, I don't know.
Not sure yet.
Yeah, not sure yet. But yeah, I would definitely mark your calendar. If you can still buy a HPD spot, buy it, because it is an experience. And if you're into cars and into motorsports and all that kind of stuff, I think you'll be kind of blown away. Yeah. Cool stuff.
Bill?
So I think we covered it. Your favorite track so far is Pittsburgh. Do you have a favorite turn or a turn that just feels right? And equally, do you have a turn that just is a troublemaker for you? Is there any specific one that kind of, I hate that turn?
Well, just recently, I would say probably turn 10 at GingerMan. That downhill off camber turn is kind of a tough one. One that just kind of connects is probably at Mid-Ohio, up over Madness, and then coming underneath Honda Bridge.
Oh, okay.
So that combination, that 5, 6, 7 combination is pretty cool when you're scooting through there. That's
see, I have trouble from that bridge on. I can do Madness, but it's tricky.
A lot of people try getting too much on the rumbles on the right, going into the right-hand corner. So you probably need to stay a little bit more left.
Could be. I'll find out in a few weeks when we go back to GingerMan for NASA Great Lakes.
Oh, no, I thought we were talking about Mid-Ohio.
Oh, Mid-Ohio. Yeah. Sorry, I said GingerMan. Yeah, I knew what I meant.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So another cool thing that I'll share with you guys. So my son, Riley, who just graduated from college, engineering degree with a motorsports certificate, working for KYB Shocks down in Indy. starts, doing HPDE, just got his comp license. So I'm trying to help him find jobs and stuff. So I'm online, just Googling jobs, and I see this ZF, and I know ZF they make transmission to BMW, and they're also a pretty large German company. So I'm on their website looking at their job opportunities and stuff like that. And I see they have this contest where if you enter this question, that you could win a trip to a racetrack, an IMSA race, and ask your question. So I enter a question and send it off, and it's on the website. It's not like it's an email, so I don't have an email trail from it. And so I can remember I was actually driving to Mid-Ohio and get a call from a guy. His name was Elvis from ZF. Says, "You're the winner." And I'm like, "Really?" So yeah, we selected your question for, ZF fan reporter. And my first thought was, I don't remember my question. And I can't go back in an email and look and see what the question was. So I'm like, holy crap. So yeah, I got selected to be the ZF fan reporter. So I got to pick what track. So I picked COTA because I'd never been to COTA before.
Right.
And asked the girlfriend if she wanted to go with me, and said, "You know what? I think it'd probably be better if you take your son." So Riley and I got to go to COTA. We got the whole VIP treatment. Got to meet John Hendow from Radio Le Mans, who does all the 24 hours of Le Mans. He also does all the IMSA racing. So if you watch any IMSA, that's John typically as a commentator.
Wow.
Got to go to the Toyota pit and ask my question. And my question was basically, how do we keep kids interested in motorsports? How do we get them interested in motorsports? And so it also kind of revolved also around the STEM, school programs and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So if you want to laugh, want to see me on TV, just Google COTA ZF fan reporter, and there I'll be.
That's awesome.
Oh, we'll be putting a link to that in the podcast notes. Don't worry.
Well, it was wonderful to interview you.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's great meeting you guys last time with GingerMan. That was fun.
Yeah. So do you have any sponsors or supporters you want to give a shout out to? Or?
Oh, yes, I got lots of sponsors.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely Turner Motorsports. Will and all the guys at Turner have been awesome. Liquid Molly is another one. They helped me out quite a bit. So love their products. Also Sonax. So if you've probably never heard of Sonax, I don't know. They have what they call their gateway product is their wheel cleaner. So if you have issues with brake dust on your wheels, their Sonax wheel cleaner is amazing.
Wow.
Sprays on clear, turns purple, and just eats the brake dust right off your wheels.
Oh, wow.
But lots of great product. And if you ever see my car, it's always spotless at the racetrack.
That's
always washing my car. So, and then a local shop in the area helped me out with stuff. So Ultimate Race Works, Ben and the guys over there for the stuff that I can't do on my own car, they helped me out. Who else? Pagid brake pads, Sparco, Mishimoto, AKG Motorsports. So lots of people.
Okay.
Couldn't do it without them. And
So how? What's that?
And the girlfriend.
And the girlfriend.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
Don't forget that one.
Gotta have that one. So how can people keep in contact with you? You on any social media, or are you on?
Oh yeah. So as you know,
NASA?
Instagram, Bill Griffin 59. I'm on Twitter, not a lot. Griffin on Track, and then Bill Griffin on Facebook. I know there's probably several, but typically my profile picture is some motorsports thing going on. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and then also you can reach me through NASA Great Lakes Instructor. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Bill is a great instructor, and we really, really enjoyed talking to you.
I enjoyed having you guys out. It was fun.
Thanks.
Forward to seeing you again.
You'll be stuck with us in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, we'll come looking for you.
The odds are pretty high with all the people.
Are you getting a hotel or?
We're probably going to do the RV with Jen.
Yep. Jennifer's got the bus now.
Okay.
So staying with her.
Because we're not doing the typical, because I don't know if you're aware, but typically Saturdays we do like an award dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Now with COVID, they're not doing
Yeah.
that anymore. So maybe we can plan on grilling out or doing something Saturday night.
Mhm.
Definitely. That would be awesome. Well, I mean, the only bad news you have is that with all the people that are coming from our team, you're probably going to get stuck with at least one of us. So,
but we're ready to learn.
Okay, that's great. So, study up.
Yep. We're familiar with the track somewhat. Some of us are.
Yeah, you've mentioned that you've been to the track before. So,
yeah, it's a great facility. For those that are going, it does have a go-kart track. I hope it's going to be running at the same time if you bring your kids.
Yeah, actually, I can't think of his name now. He used to work for Extreme, is running it. But it was running when we were there with Extreme. We were there with Extreme early this year. Of course, you can imagine what a bunch of Extreme instructors was like on the go-kart track. Yeah.
I would have loved to see. I would have paid money to see that.
That's
I really would have.
guys that, they're a little crazy. So they're happy. I just don't want to die.
all I know is we've been to Pittsburgh, I think 3 times now. And every time we go, I spend more money on the kids going go-karting than we do on the race. So it is what it is.
Cool.
All right, sir. Thank you again for coming on. And
yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, sir. You have a great night.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
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 Ben, I'm really hungry. I really, really want some stuff. I want some stuff with Old Bay. I want some crabs with Old Bay. However, I'm on the track and I'm really not supposed to be crabbing. Is that true?
Okay. What's crabbing?
What's crabbing? Well, it was one of the habits that I had. So what it was, or at least the way it was interpreted to me, was if you're going down a straightaway and you're going to make a right-hand turn, you should be all the way to the left. But when you start to brake or you start to get ready for the turn and you kind of drift in just a little bit.
Oh, so you're cheating your way toward the apex before you really need to be turning in.
Correct. Yeah, so you're crabbing across the track as opposed to driving straight out and doing your turn in.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay, thanks. Next segment.
Next.
All right. Well, that was a great segment. Thanks, Ben. That was one of our best. I've
never heard about that. I mean, I've been instructing for at least 10 years now, and I've never had that be something I've had to get after anybody about. So that's a new one to me.
Yeah, crabbing or cheating is what I've been termed, and what it seemed to do was you're a little uncomfortable, and this could be where Vicki does her coast thing with when she's going into a turn. Is you're a little uncomfortable with the speed you're carrying in, and you're not quite sure you're going to make the turn. So if you start doing it a little early, you got more time, and actually you're making things a whole lot worse.
Yeah, I understand the impetus. I understand, like, as soon as you start describing it, I was like, oh, I know what he's doing. But, yeah, don't do that.
So the good news, I went to my last HPDE, and I had several different things that I was trying to do. And one was do not crab, and one was do not turn in early, because I have a tendency to do early apex, which makes for a mess on the way out.
Do you do you do those also, or just to make sure I get it in, just to get it done?
No, it's too much street driving, I think, and trying to do that. So what I concentrated on was late turn in to a late apex. And I did such a good job on focusing on it that my instructor said, you're turning in late, and sometimes you're turning in really late. And I said, well, that's good, because my natural predilection was to turn in early. So I've achieved that. He's like, well, you need to achieve less of that. So overcompensation. But,
Yeah, I think the reliance, especially in the HPDE world, on, late apex is safety feature. And, you come out of the corner pretty fast, but guess what? If I get an early apex done and I've been on the gas since way before the apex, then I'm also gonna be faster than the guy with late apex. So I think it's a good safety crunch, but it's not ideal. I am always somebody who's obsessed with trying to get an apex done as early as I can, just so I can get back on the gas and try to dominate people on the way out of the corner. I don't want to take a pass on the way in, but I'm always trying to scheme a way to get a pass on the way out. So usually that involves maybe eating a little dirt on the way in, but coming out like a crazy man.
Well, there's going to be a segment coming up where we talk about this, because I have a theory that we're saying the exact same thing, but we're just saying it in different words.
Cool.
We'll see. It'll be fun. Tune into your next Dominating with Dawson. Since apparently my crabbing was, don't do that. Okay.
I miss crabs.
I've never had crabs.
Spoken really?
Like a Delaware
the
girl.
disease. I've had the delicious seafood many times.
Oh, okay. Very well. You had Vicki all excited because she was Vicki and Jen both grew up in Delaware, and their father makes some excellent crabs, by the way. So, all right. Well, that was the weakest Dominating with Dawson, but thanks for entertaining me and
thanks for entertaining us with your concept.
Hey, if there's things that can be done wrong, I've got a few of them, so don't worry about it. All right. We'll cross crabbing off the list. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening to our podcast. If you could, please subscribe to our podcast at your favorite podcast source. If you have any questions or topics or would like to leave a review, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to follow us along, Instagram is one of the best methods to do that at Garage Heroes in Training, or on our website at garageheroesintraining.com. We put up a few videos on YouTube every now and then, so that's kind of fun as well. And we'd like to thank our guest, Bill, for coming on, and hope that he has a great time with one of us, probably in his instructor pack. We'll see how that goes at Pittsburgh, and we hope to see you out there racing with us. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.